You ever wonder what it feels like to hold a secret so heavy it could crack the earth beneath your feet? I'm not talking about the kind of secret you whisper in the dark, but one you carry in your bones, year after year, until it becomes part of who you are. My name is Elias, and for 90 years I lived a life where words were never my own. I was born in a village where the sun seemed to rise just to burn the fields, where the only language I knew was the creak of a plough and the rhythm of my own heartbeat. I couldn't read. I couldn't write. To me, letters were just scratches on paper, meaningless as the dust that clung to my boots. But last year something happened, something that made me pick up a pen for the first time. I wrote a letter, my first, and when I read it aloud, I saw tears in the eyes of everyone who heard it. Let me tell you how I got there, how a man like me, who never held a book, found words that broke hearts. I grew up in a place where survival was the only story that mattered. My father was a shadow of a man, bent by the weight of the land, and my mother, she sang to me at night, songs without words, just melodies that held me like a warm blanket. I was the youngest of 7, and by the time I was 10, I was working the fields with calluses thicker than my dreams. School was a luxury we couldn't afford, and books were things other people owned. I didn't mind, not really. I learned to read the world instead, the way the wind whispered rain was coming, the way a cracked branch meant a storm was near. But there was one thing I couldn't read, the letters my sister Clara sent home after she left for the city. She'd write to Mama, and I'd watch Mama's face light up as she read them aloud, her voice trembling with pride. I'd nod, pretending I understood, but inside, I felt like I was locked out of a room where everyone else was invited. Clara was the only one who ever left. She was different, sharp like the edge of a knife, with eyes that saw beyond the horizon. When she was 18, she packed a bag and promised she'd write. And she did. Every month a letter would come, and Mama would sit by the fire, reading Clara's words about a world I couldn't imagine, streets that glowed at night, buildings that touched the sky. I envied her, not for the city, but for the way her words could make Mama smile. I wanted that power, that magic to turn scratches on paper into something alive. But I was just Elias, the boy who hauled water and broke his back for a handful of coins. When Mama died, the letters stopped coming. Clara didn't know. No one told her. I didn't know how to write to her, and the shame of that burned deeper than any hunger I'd ever felt. Years passed, and the village changed. The fields dried up, and people left, chasing dreams in places I'd never see. I stayed. I married a woman named Rosa, whose laughter was like the sound of rain after a drought. We had a daughter, Anna, who had her mother's eyes and a heart too big for this world. Rosa taught me love, the kind that doesn't need words, but when Anna was born, I felt that old ache again. I wanted to give her something more than a life of toil. I wanted to tell her stories, to leave her something she could hold on to. But how do you tell a story when you can't write it down? Rosa tried to teach me letters, but they danced on the page, mocking me. I'd get angry, push the pencil away, and she'd just smile, saying, "Elias, you've got time." But time is a thief, and it stole Rosa from me when Anna was only 12. Losing Rosa broke something in me. Anna became my world, but I was a quiet father, a man who spoke more with his hands than his mouth. I built her a swing from old rope and wood, and I'd push her higher and higher, her laughter filling the holes in my heart. But as she grew, I saw her watching me, her eyes searching for something I couldn't give. She'd bring home books from school, reading them aloud, and I'd listen, pretending I followed, just like I did with Mama and Clara's letters. Anna never judged me, but I judged myself. Every time she wrote her name, I felt the weight of all the things I couldn't do. I wanted to tell her I was proud, that I loved her more than the stars, but the words stayed trapped in my chest, locked behind a door I didn't know how to open. When Anna was 20, she left for the city, just like Clara. She promised to write, and she did. Letters full of dreams, of a life she was building. I kept them in a box under my bed, unopened, because I couldn't bear the thought of someone else reading them to me. I'd hold them, trace the lines of her handwriting, and imagine what she might be saying. Was she happy? Did she miss me? The not knowing ate at me, but I was too stubborn, too ashamed to ask for help. Years turned into decades, and the village grew quieter. My hands grew gnarled, my back bent like my father's. Anna's letters stopped coming, and I didn't know why. Had I failed her? Had she forgotten me? The questions haunted me, but I had no way to ask them. One day, a boy came to the village. He was maybe 16, with eyes that reminded me of Anna's. He said he was doing a project, teaching old folks like me to read and write. I laughed at him. I'm 90 years old, boy. What's the point? But he was persistent, showing up every day with a notebook and a pencil, sitting on my porch like he had nowhere else to be. His name was Tomas, and he had a patience I didn't deserve. He'd draw letters in the dirt, big and bold, and say, "This is an A, Senor Elias. It's the start of Anna's name." Something in me stirred, like a seed cracking open after years underground. I didn't want to learn for me. I wanted to learn for her. The lessons were slow, painful. My hands shook, and the pencil felt foreign, like it belonged to someone else. But Tomas was relentless, guiding my fingers, praising every crooked line. I'd curse and throw the pencil down, but he'd just pick it up and hand it back. "You're not too old," he'd say. "No one's too old to say something that matters." I thought of honor, of all the things I'd never said. I thought of Clara, whose letters I'd never answered. I thought of Rosa, who believed I had time. And so, I kept going, one letter at a time, until I could write my name. Elias. It was the first thing I ever wrote, and it felt like carving my soul into the world. Months passed, and I could string words together. Not many, but enough. Tomas said I was ready to write something real. I didn't know what to say, but I knew who I needed to say it to. I sat at my table, the one Rosa and I used to share, and I took a piece of paper. My hands trembled, not just from age, but from the weight of 90 years of silence. I wrote to Anna. I didn't know where she was, if she'd ever read it, but I wrote anyway. I told her about the swing I built, how her laughter still echoed in my ears. I told her about Rosa, how her mother loved her even when she couldn't say it. I told her I was proud, that I was sorry for all the words I never gave her. It wasn't a long letter. It wasn't perfect. But it was mine. When I finished, I held the paper like it was a living thing. Tomas said we should share it, that the village should hear it. I didn't want to, not at first. My words were private, raw, like a wound I'd kept hidden. But he convinced me, said it would mean something to others. So, one evening, we gathered in the square, just a handful of us old folks and a few curious kids. I stood there, my voice shaking, and read my letter aloud. I stumbled over the words, my own clumsy handwriting mocking me. But as I spoke, I saw their faces change. Old Maria, who'd lost her son years ago, started to cry. João, the baker, put his hand on his wife's shoulder. Even the kids went quiet, their eyes wide. I didn't understand it then, but I do now. My letter wasn't just for honor. It was for everyone who'd ever held something back, everyone who'd let silence win. When I finished, there was no applause, just a heavy, sacred silence, like the world was holding its breath. Maria came up to me, her hands trembling, and said, "Elias, you said what I never could." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded, my throat tight. That night I lay in bed, the letter under my pillow, and I felt something shift inside me. For the first time, I wasn't just Elias, the man who worked the fields. I was Elias, the man who wrote. After that, people started coming to me, asking me to write for them. A letter to a lost child. A note to a friend long gone. I wasn't good at it, but I listened, and I tried. Each word I wrote felt like a small victory, a way to give voice to the things we bury. I never found honor. I don't know if she's out there, if she's alive, if she'd forgive me. But I keep her letter, and I keep writing. Not for her, not any more, but for me. For the boy who watched his mother read Clara's letters and felt locked out. For the father who couldn't tell his daughter he loved her. For the man who thought he'd run out of time. Tomas still comes by sometimes, bringing new notebooks, new pencils. He says I'm his best student, but I know he's just being kind. I'm not a scholar. I'm not a poet. I'm just an old man who learned to write too late. But there's something powerful in that, isn't there? In finding your voice when the world says it's too late. I think about Rosa, how she'd smile if she saw me now. I think about Anna, hoping she's out there, living a life full of the words I couldn't give her. And I think about that letter, the one that made a village cry, not because it was beautiful, but because it was true. I don't know how many years I have left. My hands shake more now, and the pencil feels heavier every day. But I keep writing. Small things. My name, a memory, a prayer. Each word is a step, a way to leave something behind. I used to think words were for other people, people who went to school, who lived in cities, who knew more than me. But I was wrong. Words are for everyone. They're the way we hold on to each other, the way we say, I was here, I loved, I tried. My letter to Anna was just the beginning. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough to make people feel something, to make them remember their own unspoken truths. Sometimes, late at night, I sit on my porch and look at the stars. They're the same stars I saw as a boy, the ones Rosa and I lay under, the ones Anna pointed to when she was small. I wonder if she sees them too, wherever she is. I wonder if she'd read my letter and know it was for her. I don't have answers, and maybe I never will. But I have words now, and that's more than I ever thought I'd have. I write them slowly, carefully, like I'm building something sacred. And maybe I am. Maybe every word is a prayer, a way to say what I couldn't for 90 years. The village is quieter now, but it feels fuller somehow. People talk about my letter, about the night we all stood in the square and felt something bigger than ourselves. They say it changed them, but I think it just reminded them of what they already knew, that we all carry stories we're too afraid to tell. I'm not afraid anymore. I'm old, my body's failing, but my heart, it's alive, more alive than it's ever been. Because I found a way to say what matters, to leave a mark that won't fade with the fields or the years. I keep that letter under my bed, next to the box of Anna's unopened ones. Sometimes I take it out, trace the words with my fingers, and remember how it felt to read them aloud. I don't cry, not anymore. I smile, because I did it. I wrote something true. And maybe that's all any of us can do. Find the courage to say what's in our hearts, even if it's messy, even if it's late. I don't know if Anna will ever read my words, but I hope she feels them somehow, carried on the wind like her mother's songs. I'm still learning, still scratching out words that don't always come easy. But each one feels like a gift, a way to hold on to the people I've loved, the life I've lived. I used to think I was nothing without the land, without the work of my hands. But now I know better. I'm Elias, the man who wrote a letter at 90, the man who made a village cry, the man who found his voice when he thought it was too late. And if I can do that, what's stopping you? What's stopping any of us from saying the things that matter most? So, I keep writing. Not because I'm good at it, but because it's mine. My words, my story, my heart. And maybe, just maybe, they'll reach someone out there, Anna, or someone like her, and they'll know they're not alone. That's what words do. They build bridges, they heal wounds, they remind us we're human. I learned that at 90, and it's the truest thing I've ever known. So, tell me, what's the letter you haven't written yet? What's the story you're afraid to tell? Because I'm here, an old man with a pencil, telling you it's never too late to start, or you ever feel like there's a piece of you buried so deep it's like a river running beneath a desert, invisible but alive? I'm Elias again, still here, still holding that pencil like it's a lifeline to something I can't quite name. After I read that letter to Anna in the village square, something shifted, not just in me, but in the air around me, like the world was listening. I thought writing those words would empty me out, but instead, they carved a space for something new, something heavier. I'm 90 years old, and I'm only just beginning to understand the weight of the things I've carried. There's more to my story, more I haven't told you, because some truths are like stars. You only see them when the night is darkest. Let me take you deeper, into the places I've kept hidden, even from myself. That night after I read the letter, I didn't sleep. I sat on my porch, the village asleep, the stars burning holes in the sky. I kept seeing Anna's face, not the woman she might be now, but the little girl on the swing, her hair flying, like a flag of freedom. I wondered if she'd ever know how much I loved her, how much I failed her. The letter was a start, but it wasn't enough. It was just a single note in a song I'd never learned to sing. I started thinking about all the other letters I never wrote, letters to Rosa, to Clara, to my mother, to the boy I used to be. Each one felt like a debt unpaid, a promise broken. Have you ever felt that? Like there's a ledger in your heart, tallying all the things you meant to say but didn't? I went back to that box under my bed, the one with Anna's unopened letters. I'd been too proud, too ashamed to ask for help reading them. But that night, with the echo of the villagers' tears still in my ears, I pulled them out. My hands shook as I traced her handwriting, those loops and lines that held her voice. I couldn't read them, not yet, but I felt her in them, her hope, her fear, her life. I wondered if she'd written about me, if she'd blamed me for my silence. The thought was a knife, twisting in my chest. But there was something else too, something softer, like a whisper. Maybe those letters weren't just hers. Maybe they were mine, waiting for me to claim them. Tomas came by the next morning, his notebook under his arm, his eyes bright with that same stubborn hope. "You ready to write again, Señor Elias?" he asked. I wanted to say no, to tell him the letter to Anna had taken everything I had. But there was a fire in me now, small but stubborn, like a candle refusing to go out. I told him about the box, about Anna's letters, and for the first time I admitted I couldn't read them. Saying it out loud felt like dropping a stone I'd carried for decades. Tomas didn't laugh or pity me. He just nodded, like it was the most natural thing in the world, and said, "Let's read them together." We sat at my table, the same one where I wrote to Anna, and he opened the first letter. His voice was steady, but gentle, like he was handling something fragile. Anna's words spilled out, stories of the city, of nights spent studying under a flickering lamp, of a man she loved but lost. She wrote about missing the village, missing Rosa, missing me. "Papa," she called me, and that word hit me like a wave, knocking the breath out of me. She didn't hate me. She didn't blame me. She just wanted me to know she was trying, that she was carrying me with her, even in the silence. I sat there, an old man crying like a child, because I'd spent years building a wall between us that didn't need to be there. Each letter we read peeled back another layer of my heart. Anna wrote about her dreams, her fears, her failures. She wrote about a daughter she had, a girl named after Rosa. My granddaughter. I didn't know. How could I not know? The guilt was a tide, pulling me under, but there was something else too, a spark of wonder, like finding a flower growing in a cracked stone. I had a granddaughter, a piece of Rosa, a piece of honor, out there in the world. I wanted to meet her, to tell her about the swing, about her grandmother's laugh. But how do you reach across a lifetime of silence? How do you start when you're 90 and the world feels so big? Tomas kept coming, and we kept reading. Some letters were short, just a few lines about a hard day or a small joy. Others were long, spilling over with questions I couldn't answer. "Do you think of me, Papa?" she wrote once. "Do you ever wonder what I've become?" I wanted to scream yes, to tell her I thought of her every day, that her absence was a shadow I couldn't shake. But I didn't know where she was. The last letter was dated 10 years ago, and the address was a place I'd never heard of. I asked Tomas if we could find her, but he shook his head. "The city's big, Señor Elias. But we can write to her. We can try." So, we did. I started another letter, this one to Anna and her daughter, Rosa. My hands were steadier now, but the words were harder. How do you tell someone you love them when you've spent a lifetime not saying it? I wrote about the village, about the stars, about the way her mother's songs still lingered in the air. I wrote about my regrets, how I wished I'd learned to read sooner, to write sooner, to love louder. I told little Rosa about her grandmother, how she'd braid flowers into Anna's hair, how she'd laugh until the whole world seemed to laugh with her. I didn't know if they'd ever read it, but I wrote anyway, because sometimes the act of saying something is enough to set it free. Writing became my way of breathing. I'd sit on my porch at night, scratching out words by the light of a lantern, each one a small rebellion against the years I'd let slip by. I wrote to Clara, too, my sister who disappeared into the city all those years ago. I told her about Mama's death, about the letters I couldn't read, about the brother I wished I'd been. I wrote to Rosa, letters I'd never send, telling her about the man I was becoming, the one she always believed I could be. Each word felt like a prayer, a way to stitch together the pieces of a life I'd let unravel. Have you ever felt that? Like you're sewing your soul back together, one shaky stitch at a time? The village started to feel different. People looked at me not just as Elias, the old man who worked the fields, but as Elias, the one who wrote. They'd bring me their stories, their secrets, asking me to put them on paper. I wrote a letter for Maria, to the son she lost in a war I barely understood. I wrote for João, a thank you to his wife for staying through years of hardship. My words were clumsy, my letters crooked, but they didn't care. They said my writing felt true, like it came from a place deeper than skill. I didn't know what to make of that, but it made me keep going, keep scratching out the truths we all carry but rarely speak. One day, Tomas brought a stranger to my porch, a woman, maybe 50, with eyes like Anna's. My heart stopped, thinking it was her, but she introduced herself as Clara's daughter, my niece. Clara was gone, she said, taken by illness years ago, but she'd spoken of me, of the brother who stayed behind. She'd kept my mother's songs, passed them down, and now she was here, holding a photograph of Clara smiling, her arm around a young Anna. My sister and my daughter, together, in a moment I'd never known. The woman, Leah, her name was, said Anna had visited Clara before she died. They'd talked about me, about the village, about the letters I never answered. I felt the world tilt, like I was falling through time. Leah stayed for hours, telling me stories of Clara, of Anna, of a family I'd lost but was still mine. She said Anna was out there, somewhere, raising her daughter, living a life I couldn't imagine. I gave her the letter I'd written to Anna and Rosa, asked her to find them if she could. She promised to try, But her eyes told me what I already knew. The world is wide, and some bridges are too broken to cross. Still, I felt lighter, like I'd let go of a weight I didn't know I was carrying. Have you ever felt that? Like you've said something you didn't even know you needed to say, and suddenly you can breathe again? I started dreaming again, not the restless dreams of an old man, but vivid ones, full of color and sound. I dreamed of Rosa, standing in a field, her laughter mixing with the wind. I dreamed of Honor, reading my letter, her daughter by her side. I dreamed of Clara, young and sharp, telling me to keep going. Each dream felt like a message, a reminder that the past isn't gone. It's just waiting for us to find it. I'd wake with my heart pounding, my hands itching to write. I filled pages with memories, with hopes, with questions I'd never ask aloud. What is it about words that makes them feel like both a wound and a cure? The village square became a kind of ritual. Every few weeks we'd gather, and someone would read something, a letter, a memory, a wish. It wasn't just me anymore. Maria read a poem she'd written for her son. João shared a story about his father. Even the kids joined in, scribbling their dreams on scraps of paper. I'd listen, my heart swelling, because I'd started something, hadn't I? Not just for me, but for all of us. We were telling our stories, claiming our voices, building something that would outlast us. It felt like a fire, small but fierce, spreading from one heart to another. I'm still writing, still learning. My hands ache, and my eyes blur, but I don't stop. I write for Honor, for Rosa, for Clara, for the boy I was and the man I am. I write for the village, for the people who've trusted me with their truths. I write for you, whoever you are, because I know you have a story too, one you're afraid to tell. What is it? What's the letter you've never written, the one that's burning inside you? I'm 90, and I'm telling you it's not too late. The words are there, waiting, like stars hidden by the daylight. Sometimes I walk to the edge of the village, where the fields meet the sky, and I think about time. It's a river, isn't it? Always moving, always carrying something away, but sometimes bringing something back. I think about Honor, out there, maybe reading my letter, maybe not. I think about Rosa, my granddaughter, who might never know me but carries her grandmother's name. I think about the letters still in that box, the ones I'll read again, the ones I'll write. Each one is a thread, tying me to the people I've loved, the people I've lost, the people I've yet to meet. I don't know what comes next. Maybe Honor will find me. Maybe she won't. Maybe my words will reach her, or maybe they'll just float out into the world, like seeds on the wind. But I'm not afraid anymore. I've said what I needed to say, and that's enough for now. I keep my pencil close, my notebook open, because there's always more to say, more to feel. Have you ever felt like that? Like there's a story inside you, waiting to be born, waiting to change everything? The stars are out tonight, same as always, watching over the village like they've watched over me my whole life. I wonder what they see when they look at me. An old man with a pencil, a heart full of words, a life full of silences finally breaking. I wonder what they see in you. What's the story you're carrying, the one you haven't told? I'm here, writing mine, hoping you'll write yours. Because that's what we do, isn't it? We write, we speak, we love, even when it's hard, even when it's late. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough to make the world a little less lonely. I'm Elias, the man who learned to write at 90, the man who made a village cry, the man who's still searching for his daughter, his granddaughter, his truth. I don't have all the answers, but I have words now, and they're enough to keep me going. What about you? What's the truth you're searching for? What's the word you're afraid to write? I'm listening, and so is the world. Don't wait as long as I did. Pick up your pencil. Start. Here I am, speaking to you, my voice trembling not from age but from the weight of this moment. I'm Elias, 90 years old, a man who once thought words were for others, yet here I am, weaving them for you. You've walked with me through my silences, my letters, my heart's slow awakening. And now, as the stars burn above my village, I feel you sitting here with me, on this worn porch, as if you've always been here. This story, it's not just mine. It's yours too, isn't it? There's a reason you're hearing it now, a reason your heart stirred when I spoke of honor, of Rosa, of the words I learned too late. Something in you knows this truth. We're all writing letters we haven't sent, carrying loves we haven't named. I never found honor. I sent that letter to her and little Rosa, my granddaughter, through Leah, my niece, but the world is vast, and some bridges stay broken. Yet, as I sit here, my pencil worn to a stub, I don't feel loss. I feel full. Writing that letter, reading hers, speaking to the village, it was like opening a window in a room I'd locked long ago. The air rushed in, cold and sharp, but alive. You know that feeling, don't you? When you say something true, even if it hurts, and suddenly you're not alone anymore. I didn't find honor, but I found something else. The courage to speak, to love out loud, to be more than my silences. The village hasn't stopped talking about that night in the square, when my words made them cry. They call it Elias's letter, like it's a legend, but to me, it's just a piece of my heart on paper. Maria still writes poems for her son, João keeps a notebook by his bed, and the kids, they draw stories now, not just dreams. I started something, but it's bigger than me. It's like a river, flowing through us all, carrying our truths to places we'll never see. You're part of that river now, flowing with your own unspoken stories. What's the letter you're carrying? The one you're afraid to write? I keep Anna's letters close, reading them when the nights are too quiet. Her words are like a map, showing me the woman she became, strong, searching, human. In one, she wrote about a night she saw the stars and thought of me. "Papa," she said, "I hope you're looking at the same sky." I was, honor. I am. Every night, I look up and wonder if you're out there, if you feel me too. That wonder, it's not pain anymore. It's a gift. It's the ache that reminds me I'm alive, that love doesn't need answers to be real. Have you ever felt that? A love so deep it hurts, but you wouldn't trade it for anything? Tomas visits less now, off to school in the city, but he left me a gift, a new notebook, its pages blank and waiting. I fill them slowly, my hands unsteady but sure. I write about the fields, the way they bloom after rain. I write about Rosa, my wife, how her laughter still echoes in the wind. I write about you too, because I know you're out there, carrying your own silences, your own dreams. Each word I write feels like a prayer, not for answers, but for connection. I'm not just an old man anymore. I'm a voice, a story, a bridge to something bigger. And so are you. There's a secret I've learned, one I wish I'd known at 20, not 90. Words don't just speak, they heal. They take the broken pieces of us and make them whole, not by fixing them, but by letting them be seen. When I wrote to Anna, I wasn't just writing to her. I was writing to the boy who felt locked out, the father who felt he failed, the man who thought he'd run out of time. Every word was a step toward forgiveness, toward myself. You're on that path too, aren't you? Forgiving yourself for the things you didn't say, the chances you didn't take. It's not too late. It never is. I think about Clara sometimes, my sister who left and never came back. Leah told me she kept a box too, full of Mama's songs written down, a piece of home she carried to the city. I like to think she and Anna found each other, two women carrying my heart in their hands. Maybe they sang those songs together, under a sky I'll never see. That thought, it's enough. It's more than enough. It's like the stars, always there, even when I can't see them. What's enough for you? What's the thought that keeps you going when the night feels too heavy? The village feels different now, like it's waking up. We still gather in the square, sharing stories, laughing, crying. Last week, a girl no older than 10 read a letter to her mother, who left when she was small. Her voice shook, but she didn't stop. I watched her, and I saw myself, someone finding their voice, claiming their place. That's what this is, you know, a claiming, a refusal to let silence win. You're claiming something too, just by being here, just by listening. What is it? What's the truth you're ready to claim? I'm old, my body slower every day, but my heart, it's young. It's alive with words, with love, with the knowledge that I've said something true. I don't know if Honor will ever read my letter, if little Rosa will ever know my name. But I know this. My words are out there, carried by Liar, by the wind, by something bigger than me. They're part of the river now, flowing toward someone who needs them. Maybe that someone is you. Maybe you're the one my story was meant to find, right here, right now, in this quiet moment when the world feels still. There's a peace in that, a kind of grace I didn't know existed. I used to think I needed answers, where Honor was, why she stopped writing, if she forgave me. But now I see that the answers aren't the point. The point is the asking, the reaching, the loving. Every letter I write, every word I speak, is a reach toward something eternal. You're reaching too, aren't you? Toward someone, something, a truth you can't quite name. Keep reaching. The stars are watching, and they know your name. I want to thank you for sitting here with me, for listening to an old man's story. You didn't have to, but you did, and that means something. It means you're ready to hear the whisper in your own heart, the one that's been waiting for you to listen. I want you to do something for me, for you. In the comments below, write, received, reflection. Just those words, nothing more. It's a signal, a way to say you felt this, that something in you stirred. It's a promise to yourself, to keep listening, to keep writing your own story. This isn't the end, not for me, not for you. My notebook's still open, my pencil still sharp. I'll keep writing, keep speaking, keep loving, because that's what we do. We carry on, even when the page is blank, even when the night is dark. You'll carry on too, won't you? With your own words, your own truths, your own bridges. I believe in you, the way Rosa believed in me, the way Tomas believed in me. You're not alone in this. You never were. I think about the swing I built for Honor, how it still stands in the yard, weathered but strong. Sometimes I sit there, let it creak under my weight, and I feel her laughter, Rosa's songs, the pulse of a life I'm still living. I wonder what your swing is, the place, the memory, the thing that holds you when the world feels heavy. Go find it. Sit there. Let it carry you. You're stronger than you know, braver than you feel. Your story, it's still being written, and the world is waiting to hear it. I don't know what tomorrow holds. Maybe Honor will find me. Maybe little Rosa will read my words someday. Maybe I'll write something new, something that breaks my heart open all over again. But I'm not afraid anymore. I've said what I needed to say, and that's enough for now. It's enough to know that my words reached you, that they touched something in your soul. You feel it, don't you? That quiet shift, like a door opening inside you, letting the light in. So, I'm asking you to keep going, to pick up your own pencil, to write your own letter. Not to me, not to anyone else, but to the part of you that's been waiting. Tell it you're here. Tell it you're ready. Tell it you're enough. And if you feel alone, look up at the stars. They're the same ones I see, the same ones Honor saw, the same ones waiting for you. They're listening, just like me, just like the world. Thank you for being here, for walking this road with me. If this story moved you, if it woke something in you, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. There are more stories coming, more truths to uncover, more bridges to build. You don't want to miss them. You're part of this now, part of something bigger, something that feels like home. Write received reflection in the comments. Let me know you're here. Let yourself know you're here. I'm Elias, the man who wrote a letter at 90, the man who learned that love is louder than silence. I'm still here, still writing, still reaching. And you're reaching too. Don't stop. The world needs your voice, your heart, your truth. There's a letter inside you, waiting to be written. What will it say? What will it heal? What will it set free? This story, it's yours now. Carry it. Let it grow. Let it remind you that you're never too late, never too broken, never too small to matter. I'm an old man, but I'm still learning, still loving, still hoping. And so are you. Keep going. Keep writing. Keep being. The stars are watching, and they're whispering your name. I'll leave you with this, a quiet thought to carry into the silence. What if the letter you're afraid to write is the one the world's been waiting to read? What if it's the one that changes everything? Write it. Speak it. Live it. I'm here, believing in you, and I'm not the only one. What's waiting inside you, ready to be born?